Welcome to Larry's Library, and welcome to the Sunday Scan. This is the show where each week I read one of the few remaining single-issue comic books that I have left. I've got about a long box I'm still reading of my original collection before I switch to collected editions, that is. Anyway, so this is the show where each week I will read one of those comics, and then I'll show a few scans from it and talk about it a little bit, and get you a quick glimpse about that. So, the last 2 weeks, I've done Godzilla, the Marvel Godzilla series, and now I still haven't read all those, but I don't want people to think this is the Godzilla channel, although that might be cool. So, I'm going to mix it up sometimes, and I'm going to choose a different issue, and then I'll come back to the Godzilla until I get through all 24 of those. So, I decided to mix it up this week, and I'm taking a look at Battlestar Galactica issue number 1. Now, this is Marvel's adaptation of the 1978 TV show, the original Battlestar Galactica. And so this came out in '79. Now, I only have just the one issue, the number 1. That's all I have of this. I got a good deal on it, and I thought, well, this is likely never going to be collected. So I'm going to take issue 1. I'm not going to try to get all of them, but I am going to keep this one, and I decided to read it this week. And maybe one day, somehow, the license will get fixed to where Marvel can collect this. I doubt it, but you know. This cover is by, let's see, I think it's Cockrum. Let me take a look. Yeah, this is penciled by Dave Cockrum with inks by Bob McLeod. And I always loved this cover. I never had the comic before, never read it before. Even as a kid, I didn't have these. I saw them, but I never had any of them. But this cover is super dynamic and awesome. I always loved it. So I always thought, you know, if I get a good deal on it, sometime I'm going to get it just for the cover and just for the nostalgia I have in it, you know. Now, the inside says right here, wow. It's based on the television series Battlestar Galactica, written and created by Glenn Larson. And then over here on the side, it says, portions hereof originally appeared in Marvel Super Special number 8. So, if I remember right, and I may not, I think this was came out in a huge Treasury edition. You know, the original Treasury edition, the big soft cover that was criminally hard to keep in good condition. So I had a kind of love-hate relationship with them when I was a kid. You know, when I was a little kid, I had some of them, but you know, I didn't have bags and boards to fit them. I had no boxes to fit them. It was just something that I loved to read, and then it would get trashed because there was no way to keep it in good shape. And I think that's how these came out originally. So I think that super special they're talking about was a Treasury. Could be wrong, though. And after reading this whole thing, what I found out was there's a little blurb in, I think it's in the Bullpen Bulletins, or, yeah, where it mentions it. And I'll show a shot of that. And it says, the event in comics this month has to be the arrival of Battlestar Galactica. Number 1, the premiere issue of what is sure to be one of Marvel's best and most popular series for a long, long time. Ramblin' Roger McKenzie, writer, and ever-ready Ernie Colan, artist, have expanded their already acclaimed adaptation of the Battlestar Galactica TV movie to kick off the 35-cent color comic series. You don't want to miss this one. And then it's got a picture of this awesome cover. So, I think what they did was, I think they added 2 or 3 pages to the end here to set up for what would be this series. An interesting thing about this one, the pencils and the inks are by Ernie Colan. Now, Ernie Colan was never one of my favorites when I was young, and I think I figured out why reading this. And I appreciate his art a lot more now as an adult than I did when I was a little kid, I gotta say. But that's kind of the way it is, you know, with experience and wisdom, and you see more things, you can appreciate more things and things you couldn't before, I think. At least that's the way it's worked with me. What I think has happened here is Ernie Colan was a great penciler and not a great inker. So even though he's inking his own work, I think he would have been served better to have someone else ink his pencils. I really do. Because if you look at it, some of the inks are really nice. Like this shot of the Viper, the ships, the fighter ships they had there, which I always loved them as a little kid. Those Battlestar Galactica Vipers. Man, I liked them better than X-Wings. I know that's sacrilegious for some people, but I did. I loved those Viper ships. I just loved it. And the Cylons I thought were some of the coolest villains of all time. Their voices, that sound they used for that, man, I just loved it. Loved that show. Me and my dad watched it week to week. And we even watched the sequel. I think it was called Battlestar Galactica 1983 or something like that, where they finally reach Earth. If you don't know the premise of the show and this series, was that these Cylons were wiping out humanity. And then you find out, in sort of a twist ending to the first episode, that this branch of humanity came from Earth. And they've never been to Earth, but it's talked about in their ancient texts that all of humanity descended from this planet that was far, far away called Earth. So when they're on the run from the Cylons and all their homeworlds are wiped out by these Cylon creatures, they all band together and form like a convoy and decide to go try to find Earth. And, you know, spoiler for a show from way, way back in the, 1978, 79, they eventually do find Earth, and that's done in the sequel, Battlestar Galactica 1983. But at any rate, I think it was 1983. I didn't check any of this, so I'm going off memory, which could be wrong. So it'll be fun to find out later when I'm editing this thing, if I was even right. But, I mean, I don't do much editing on these Sunday scans, because that's the whole point. It's supposed to be a quick thing. I can read the book, talk about it, get the video up on the same day that I read the book. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And I hope you like taking a look at this. But anyway, I was just talking about Ernie Cohen's pencils. I think are great. Some of the layouts are fantastic. The designs he's doing here is awesome. The ships are great. But sometimes his inky choices are strange. You know, like just really sparse and not doing justice to his pencils. So that would be something I'd like to explore sometime. Is I bet Ernie Cohen's pencils would look a lot better with someone else inking. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. But hope you like taking a look at this. And next week, we'll go back to the next issue of Godzilla. Oh, but before I go, I almost forgot. One of my commenters, one of my viewers, Mike, I believe Mike is his first name, he commented that in the last Sunday scan, the Godzilla, I think it was issue 13, has some shots of Salt Lake City, which is where he lives or did live. Not sure if he still lives there, but anyway, he said it was really well done, and the artist Herb Trimpe did a remarkably great job of depicting an accurate job of Salt Lake City as it was back in the late 70s. So he sent me a picture where he put together a postcard from that era of Salt Lake City and a panel from the comic book, and you can see how perfectly aligned Herb Trimpe got it. He did a really good job. Anyway, and I talked to him over email, and I asked Mike if I could recreate that using a scan that I'll make from my own comic book, and I asked him to send me a larger image from that postcard, and he did. So I'll show that here. I'll show them side by side, and maybe I'll do some kind of dissolve if I can figure out how to do that. So here we go. Take a look at this. How awesome is that? That is really good, huh? Herb Trimpe nailed it. And thanks, Mike, for bringing that to my attention and sending me that postcard image and giving me the idea for this. So I'll let you go. That's all I got for now. If you haven't subscribed, be sure and do that. Hit the bell to notify yourself, and I'll see you next time.